Hey scrappers, it's Tom from the iScrap app, and today is Wednesday, which means it's a time for our weekly report on YouTube and on Facebook. What are we going to talk about today? Market news, market updates, what you should expect at your scrapyard, and how you can make more money with your scrap. Follow me, let's go talk scrap. Have questions about scrap? Time to ask them now. Let's go.
Hey scrappers, it's Tom from the iScrap app, and today is not just Wednesday, August 25th. Today is the official relaunch of the iScrap app 2.0 with the ability to see hundreds of scrap metal prices, with the ability to post prices, report prices that you received at your scrapyard, and make more money with your scrap. It was funny. I was driving into work today, and I know that we had our weekly report, and I was a little extra excited because I woke up around 1 a.m. to see that the app was live on the App Store and that it was uploaded and successful and everything else. And then I got to thinking, why am I so excited about an app that I'm not going to really use myself? I mean, I own a scrapyard. I'm not going from scrapyard to scrapyard reporting prices. I got excited for you. And I got excited because for the last 10 years, we've been building towards today without knowing that we were building towards today. You know, we do our weekly market reports. We tell you guys what's going on with the markets. Well, a lot of it tends to be regurgitated. It doesn't really matter because it's updated, right? And by updating things, by having prices on there, by you reporting so many prices that you receive every day, all you're going to do is help yourself make more money, help you and the other scrappers that we work with learn about the prices, learn about the markets, and you might start to see some materials that you didn't even know existed, that you didn't even know were separated. You might be able to find scrap yards in the area that you didn't know were there. So there's going to be so many things that are so exciting for you to be able to utilize. And while we're excited to hear your positive feedback, we really want to hear what you want us to do better next time, what we can add on, what we can change to make it a little more fat finger friendly, as we kind of phrase here. Let us know what we can do to help you make more money, so we can build it, give it to you, and then hopefully you'll keep going with it. So here we are in August. Of course, we have our Patreon supporting Patreon supporters, where if you become an aluminum or a copper Patreon member, you're going to be entered in too far to win this awesome DeWalt reciprocating saw. And we have a lot of tools that we have on hand that we're going to start giving away, whether it's through competitions that we have in the coming months, whether it's through people that we think need or deserve tools because they've been reporting all types of prices or telling people about the app or helping other scrappers grow through the scrap metal forum on Facebook. We are going to continue to be giving away these DeWalt tools for so many reasons. One, they're awesome. Two, they're warranted, so it's not like you're just buying something off of the shelf. And if you're a Patreon supporter, you'll learn about some tips like warranties or safety issues or things that you don't think about in your day-to-day scrapping life, where what we try to do is give you a little insight from a different perspective. And here I am, I'm 36 years old and 14 years into my working career. You know, when they say age brings wisdom, they're not lying, because as I talk to more people that have been around the scrap metal industry, whether it's in the demo industry, the manufacturing side, what I've learned over the years is by talking to people and listening to people that are smarter than yourself, you're going to learn so much more. And a lot of us that are out there scrapping are by ourselves sometimes, or you only have a small group of people that you're working with. Patreon could become something that almost is a guide for you for a very small amount of money per month versus what it gives back to you. So even if you try it and get some of the tools and tricks that we have put together, there's dozens of ideas that we've already posted to so many Patreons out there. I'm not trying to do a hard plug on it, but one thing I try to push to people is don't stay closed-minded. You know, you're tuning into these market reports and pulling up the iScrap app on your iPhone or your Droid so you can learn more. So utilize the tools that are out there to learn more about the markets. I'm looking at these markets right now and I'm saying to myself, boy, our government is really things up, because while they're printing trillions of dollars, it seems to be that there's going to be a lot of false hope going into 2022. And I'd like to explain that. A lot of people ask and they tune into us to learn about the scrap metal prices. Well, as a rejoined ISRI member, and ISRI is kind of the association group for the scrap metal world. We just joined recently again after being out for many years. What we've learned is that through other members and industry resources, we've learned about more laws that are changing. We've learned about more inflationary periods that could be coming and where the scrap industry could be going. And by you tuning into iScrap and downloading the app and listening to things that we're talking about, you're going to learn about things where you want to start to separate things from micro to macro. Micro is day to day. What are you scrapping today? What job site do you have to go to? What route are you going on? But in the macro sense, you're going to be able to look at things and you're going to be able to utilize tools like Patreon, the iScrap app, rrcats.com, and look at the videos, the descriptions, the metals, and you're going to start to learn about things from a bigger picture and start to see how things piece themselves together. And while we do, 45 to 50 weekly reports, you're going to start to look at things differently and learn more about things in a different way that's going to help you learn about how to make more money. Because at the end of the day, I don't think you're tuning in because I'm a handsome guy. I think you're tuning in because you want to learn how to make more money and you want to learn about the markets. So what the government's doing right now with the amount of money that they're printing, the mess that we have overseas, they're creating a little bit of instability and a little bit of uncertainty politically, which is going to have a trickle down effect into manufacturing, commodities trading, world associations, how shipping is being done. I was talking to one of our national account managers here at Rockaway Recycling, and I was telling her how some of the overseas shipping have tripled in the last 18 months. And that is not just due to inflation, but that was due to a market demand, pent up frustrations from people trying to get their goods, and oil prices increasing. And when you see gas prices jumping over $1 per gallon year over year, a lot of these increases in prices, while you might not be getting, higher taxes, you are getting money taken away in different areas. And that's directly because of how things have changed in the last 6 to 7 months. So while we go micro from week to week, the macro is how policy changes from infrastructure to budget reconciliation to commodity prices like iron ore, how all of these things piece together in the bigger picture. Example, iron ore prices back in May hit all-time record highs of, I believe, near $200 per ton. Now, I'm not talking about scrap prices. I'm talking about raw iron ore out of the ground, getting loaded into a ship that still has dirt, hasn't been cleaned, and has to go to a mill or a processing center to be made into steel products. Well, since then, we've seen about a 30% pullback in pricing, but the scrap prices have not pulled back 30% at the same time. And what we've talked about in the past is how, iron ore doesn't directly correspond to high steel prices or high steel prices to high iron ore prices. But by learning about different market trends where, for instance, the Chinese stopped importing as much iron ore. Then you have other countries like Turkey that used to pull in a lot of scrap steel, India as well, and their COVID situation slowed things down. So a lot of these micro week-to-week things are affecting these macros, these big picture. And here at iScrap, what we try to do is take the prices that you're reporting on your iPhone, your Droid, right, for the scrap prices. We're trying to piece together all these little prices, put them together into an aggregate, get these average national prices, which now you have over 200 national prices posted. By doing that, it's going to give you the ability to learn about the market in a different sense. And you might say, Tom, when do we buy? When do we sell? Should I buy? Should I pay for scrap metal? I've always gotten it for free. But through Patreon, through our weekly reports, through our videos that we create, through our blogs and our posts, you'll start to learn about markets in different ways and start to see how things piece together, similar to what I do every day here at Rockaway Recycling and iScrap. We got a question. Let's get right to it.
I've noticed nickel is on a steep climb right now. I've also noticed that ATP is on an upward trend last I saw. Do you think they'll decrease through the winter or mostly stable?
I think that we're going to see a very stable commodities market, and thank you for the question. Nickel prices will, of course, affect stainless steel 303, 304, 316, 321, 310, all these different stainless grades. And we finally saw the stainless market really having a nice increase with, I believe, the national average in the 53 to 55 cent per pound range for 304 stainless. Now, sustaining that market through the end of the year seems very plausible, and I would even push that out to the first quarter of 2022. But we have so many things that are going on both politically and commodity driven right now. I wouldn't push things much further than 3 months at a time, but I don't see much of a change happening for the next 6 months, barring some type of third party event or potential war incident, something like that, that's going to really upset the markets. I think what I've learned about from watching the trading world, while I'm not trading stocks, I read about people who are trading stocks and futures and all these different things. And they're starting to bake a lot of these trillions of dollars that are going to get printed into a lot of companies' portfolios and price ranges moving forward into next year. So it's going to be really interesting to see how things happen. And I'll give you one, for instance, that how things are going to change. Ford does not have many trucks that are just readily available on different Ford dealers' lots across the country. I read an article recently that talked about Ford moving to a ordering model instead of you showing up and finding the sleazy car salesman and trying to go back. Oh, did I say sleazy? I meant nice car salesman. Trying to go back and forth and haggling over a few hundred or a few $1,000s for the price of that car. Ford and other auto manufacturers, they kind of like this new model. The supply and the demand are equaling out a little more. Dealers have less inventory. While that stinks for the short term, that micro picture, the macro means that they can get orders from customers. And what auto dealers have learned is that when customers are ordering vehicles, they don't have price negotiation power. They just have a price that's put in front of them. And if you want this package and this package and this package, oh, this is how much it costs. Well, can you do any better? No, but you can remove these different packages. Well, how does that affect scrap? Well, that means that Ford, Chevrolet, General Motors, and all these other dealers are going to start to have a much better appreciation and a much better forecast, more importantly, of how much materials they are going to need. I don't want to talk about the semiconductor industry, but because there is a chip shortage and cars are becoming more like moving computers, they are going to start to be able to price out vehicles from trucks to cars to semis, where they're going to be able to price these commodity swings into things. And if there is a big upward trend in commodities, auto dealers are going to bake in the potential of adding more money to your car purchase before you even pick up the car. Now, I just ordered a couple of dumpsters from a guy out in Pennsylvania that I've used for years. I ordered the dumpsters back in May. They were supposed to be delivered in August, and let me tell you what's happened. I just paid 15% more than I was supposed to, even after we agreed on a price. Why? They're really busy. Steel prices went up, and even though scrap steel prices have started to decrease a little bit in the last few weeks, they haven't gone down enough when you consider that all of the new production that's coming out of all of these steel mills is based on scrap prices that were 3 or 4 months old. I mean, think about it. 3 months ago, scrap steel, let's say it was $300 for heavy melt. At $300, it got delivered to a mill. That mill refined it, and let's say they sell it for $700 or $800 per ton. Let's just go with $700 for an easy number. Bought it at $300, refined it, selling it at $700. Their profit market gets built in. Who really cares about that? Well, let's say today's price is $250 for heavy melt, and it is going to be, outputted at $600. Well, I don't get the benefit of that $100 decrease or $50 decrease because the material that I need today to build the new dumpsters for my scrapyard are priced at market rates of 3 months ago. And that's where I try to tell people, don't look at today's prices. Look at the prices that you've reported over the last few months. How do those prices come together? How do those national averages start to dictate different supply and demands? And here I am paying more money for something that I thought was going to be 15% less. And I understand it being from a commodities-based industry where, let's say, a garbage man who doesn't move metal and is moving just cardboard and garbage, they might have a little more pushback. Hey, why are you going to charge me 15% more money, a few $1,000s for something that we agreed on 3 or 4 months ago? You're reneging on your contract. But when you start to look at things, the fine print says these prices are subject to change due to market conditions, and the market conditions changed. And being inside of the metals industry, while I was upset, I could still understand it a little bit. So if you had the newest version of the iScrap app on your phone for free in your pocket today, how can that help you make more money? Well, you can see 30-day market trends. You can see organizational charts. You can see how the price is fluctuating, big market drops. You can get notifications when there's big market drops. You can get notifications when there's big market increases. By downloading the app or becoming a Patreon supporter, you get to learn about the market, not just from today's point of view, but also from like a 7-day, 14, 30-day point of view. Because the copper prices are crazy right now. I mean, last week, I saw the market drop like 40 cents in 3 or 4 days. That scared the you-know-what out of me. What did I do at my scrapyard? Drop those prices as fast as I could because I remember having 50-cent drops in 3 or 4 days. That happened earlier this summer in June. That scares the bejesus out of you. So as a scrapyard, you're going to drop your prices hard really, really quickly. But as an iScrap app follower or a member or someone that gets our notifications, you'll learn about those things too. Now, with those copper prices dropping last week, we saw a big pullback in the reported prices. People were asking us, should I hold? Is it going to bounce back? We didn't expect to see that massive pullback that we did. I believe Tuesday or Wednesday morning, I woke up last week and saw the market drop 17 cents. Now, it recovered slightly. And it was really funny because the last 3 trading days, we added on like 18 cents per pound, 20 cents per pound. So we're close to where we were a week and a half ago, but these things are going to continue to happen. So copper prices, yes, they're strong. Bear Bright averages $3.50, $3.55 per pound nationally. But then you have big pullbacks in the catalytic converter market with palladium prices going from $2,500 down to $2,200 up to $2,400 per ounce, all in a period of 10 trading days. Rhodium prices are almost half of the all-time highs that we hit back in May. And while you're not trading platinum, palladium, or rhodium on a day-to-day scrapping basis, these 3 metals, part of the PGM group, the platinum group of metals, these 3 metals help change the catalytic converter prices. So we try to talk about these, not so you know that platinum is $2,400 or $900 per ounce. I believe it's $977 per ounce for platinum. Palladium was over $24. But because you're able to learn about what it takes to bake the cake properly, how many metals need to be put together. You know, with our metal of the month coming up, brass, you know, a lot of people talk about brass as a metal where brass is not a metal. It's made of metals and it's called an alloy. And these are special things that get put together. And you need to learn about the copper market, the zinc market, the iron market. Where are these different prices and how you can make more money with them? We have any questions from last week we want to go over? If not, you know what, you got them ready?
We have one question.
We got one question, guys?
So let's do, why is tool steel worth a couple more cents per pound than regular steel?
Awesome. So tool steel versus regular steel has a couple of differences. You could have metals like chromium or tungsten inside. And knowing high-speed steel versus your average steel is going to be important because at the right scrapyard, you can make 10 to 15 cents more per pound for grades of steel, of high-speed steel like M2 or M3. So it's just really important to think about that. But this week we have our bucket, and we're going to go. It's a little hard to completely hide what's in here, but we have our bucket. All right, we're going to go in the bucket, and for 2 minutes, I'm going to talk about whatever's inside, so we can learn about different markets, learn about different metals. Now, I kind of cheated only because I saw the pipe sticking out, but this is a catalytic converter. Okay, now this is an aftermarket catalytic converter. And one of the telltale signs that you can see with aftermarkets is the silver shield. This silver shield, you can see it and know right off the bat that this is an aftermarket. It says MagnaFlow on it. If it was like a Chevrolet, it might have the Chevy logo or a GM logo or a different set of series of codes on there. But I can look at this, and while this is heavier than other aftermarkets, there's 3 things that I can look at very quickly that you can also start to look at while you get into catalytic converters and how to make more money with them. First thing I see is that silver shield. Second thing is really shitty welds. I mean, look at the welds on this. Whoever welded this to the original tailpipe should really go back to school and to learn how to weld, or maybe this was their welding project, because this is super sloppy. It should be a nice thin bead that makes its way around and really locks it in. And you can see both sides had a really poor weld on it. The third thing is the crimp. If you look at this crimp, it almost looks like a ravioli. Now, there are certain OEM cats that have the crimp to them, but this crimp that goes around the edges, all these little lines, is a telltale sign that these 2 pieces of metal were pressed together and kind of crimped, almost like a stapler without the staples, by pushing it together, or a rivet gun. By pushing it together, it's another sign that this is an aftermarket cat. Things you want to know about aftermarkets: while they do have precious metals in them, they are very, very low compared to many other OEMs or foil or DPF units. And the aftermarkets are normally going to be much cheaper. I think rrcats.com is paying $25 per aftermarket, which is actually a very strong price. So those are things that you want to look for: bad welds, silver shields having arrows on them, a word like MagnaFlow or Bosel, the crimps. Those are all telltale signs that you have an aftermarket or a low-grade cat. Another question.
So we have a few.
Great. Let's get to a few questions. I'm ready. So pumped.
So Canadian treasure hunter asks, why is platinum lower than gold?
I don't know. If I knew that, I would definitely be recording from a different studio and not our offices. Gold is generally used as a safe haven for investors. Gold also, I guess I kind of have a little bit of an idea. Gold has a little more uses. Platinum, while it's used in jewelry and in catalytic converters, the uses for platinum are not as strong, and we've seen up and down swings in the platinum market. So, as they start to develop new technology, they might introduce it. But what we've seen in the technology world, where platinum had been used in different microprocessing chips, they're moving away from that and going into lower value metals that can do the same job. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. Question, follow up.
So can you explain aluminum clip MLC? He doesn't quite understand what makes that grade.
Sure. So aluminum clips, or MLC, is mixed low copper. MLC, mixed low copper content. And that could be like a sheet aluminum where it has, don't forget, there are a lot of grades of aluminum that are smorgasbord of materials. A perfect example would be sheet aluminum. When you sell sheet aluminum, which is generally the most common grade that scrappers are selling to scrapyards, when you sell that to the scrapyard and they're mixing all these sheet pieces together, whether they're baling it, putting it loose into dumpsters, running it to the different mills. These different mills are going to have these lower grades of aluminum that could be used in lawn chairs or low-grade casted parts, generally not in automakers or auto manufacturing. So the MLC prices are generally just this mixed smorgasbord of aluminum sheet grades that could have dirty pieces inside, steel rivets, copper, magnesium, zinc, all these different kind of things, and it brings the level down. Aluminum clips, That's not generally the same as an MLC because aluminum clips is kind of like talking about extruded aluminum. Aluminum clips are not always a grade. It's talking about different grades, or it could be like a mix of clean 6061, 5052, 3003 series, 6063. So it's generally a cleaner grade of aluminum. So if you compare it to sheet, it would have just aluminum in the box compared to 2 to 3% contaminants from something else on sheet side of things. Anything else?
One more question
Okay.
that I thought we got to, but maybe we didn't. What should someone do if they know that a scrapyard is accepting stolen metal?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, where's your morality compass? I'm not going to tell you what to do because, how you report people are up to you. But if you're being impacted, if you think that a scrapyard is doing something that you shouldn't, then think about what your place is in society. I think we have more people that are keeping quiet or complaining about people on social media, but with multiple areas to report companies that are doing something wrong anonymously, you could always put in one of those anonymous tips. I actually had 2 local detectives here this morning just talking about different catalytic converter thefts. And what they found is that a lot of the people that are stealing catalytic converters in my area, they don't come here because they know how clean and neat and organized our operation is. Driver's licenses, signatures, agreeing to terms and conditions, pictures taken, right? Where other scrap yards where they're old school or no cameras or just, I'm going to call you Johnny Cash, even though your name is Johnny Appleseed, changing names. You should start to learn. I mean, it's really just a morality thing. Like, do you know that something's right or do you know that something's wrong? And I'm not talking about doing 72 miles per hour in a 65. Or spending trillions of dollars from the future on something else. I mean, that's a morality thing that I could go in a whole nother direction on. But reporting people is certainly up to you. I'm not going to give you guidance on that because I hope it's not my yard because I know we do pretty much everything right here. So, when you're looking at a lot of these market prices, you want to download the new iScrap app 2.0. Listen, there's a bunch of different screens behind me. You can see, did you just sell your metal where you can report it? You can get prices on catalytic converters. You can sell your scrap vehicle and have towing companies come to you to pick them up. You can see our news articles, our blogs, our weekly videos, YouTube, hundreds of different metals that have prices, descriptions, pictures, videos, where to sell them. Utilize the iScrap app in a way to help yourself make more money. If you're looking to get even more information, become an aluminum or a copper Patreon supporter this month. Get entered into our raffle to be able to get a new DeWalt reciprocating saw. But listen, scrappers, I'm going to start to change how I talk to you because I'm not going to do my weekly blah, blah, blah report every single week. I want to talk to you about real events. I want to talk to you about things that are going to affect the markets from an outsider's perspective, from a macro perspective, from a micro day-to-day perspective. And by you continuing to report your prices, you're going to be able to give us more information and tools about what's going on out there so we can start to feed you more information moving forward into the market so you can continue to make more money. Scrappers, this is Tom from iScrap, and I know that today is August 25th, but really we're going to call this August 2.0 day because this is our newest launch of the iScrap app. Please do us a favor, go out there, download it, free to download, free to use, free to report prices, easy scanning of tickets so it can give you a better idea of where you are, finding scrap yards. We're so excited to hear from you. We can't wait to do that. And until next week, scrappers, I'll scrap you later.